I think we need to be alarmed. When we look around us, we find there are lots of phenomena around us. Like recently in Mauritius, we've seen we have lots of issues with flooding. And in the latest COP26, we found there are proof actually that these carbon emissions are actually causing lots of harm. If you go back, let's say 1 decade earlier, people were not very sure. There were not like proven scientific findings to say, yes, this is what's causing climate change. Now there's no uncertainty. So I would say we are in a very dangerous situation, and if we continue along the same route, soon we'll be facing more and more of these calamities. And if we talk of economic development, for example, so we are always trying to do economic growth, but it's proven now if we don't develop soundly, sustainably, our economic growth may not mean anything, because we'll be investing back this money in actually redressing the situation, and it will be at the expense of lives of people, health issues. So we need to think differently. So I think in Mauritius, I think around the world, when we teach our pupils at primary school, we teach them very fundamental things like the water cycle, we teach them about oxygen production and how plants help us. So the solutions are not difficult, and it's very logical. When we actually do community engagement, we talk to people, it's very logical, it's not complex. So we know what the issues are. We are emitting carbon and we are not converting that to oxygen. If you talk of flooding, we are constructing a lot of impermeable surfaces. Our buildings are creating what is called runoff, and we're not dealing with them. So I would say the solutions are very simple, and when we do community engagement projects, the communities are very interested. They know what is a problem. So I think the main goal for us would be community empowerment, because of course government has a role to play, but it's not just the government which can redress the situation. It will be the community who has to take things. In my personal research area, I work a lot in the field of buildings, built environment. So I show to people how their homes actually are having negative environmental impacts and causing climate change. I will take some examples. One is, I mentioned earlier, more and more people are installing air conditioning system. Why? Because summers are becoming warmer, but the solutions are not there. The solution is very simple. Our research has shown, for example, if everyone in Mauritius just shade their roof for a very simple solar shade, which can cost like 2,000 rupees, they don't need air conditioning. So if we don't communicate this type of findings to the community and we just leave them to do things like they want, they'll be investing more in air conditioning systems. And what are they doing basically is they're cooling the roof and they're cooling their walls in their place because it has been heated during the day. Another one which I communicate to in my workshop is flooding. Before actually we constructed our home, our land at home would be allowing water to permeate into the ground. So when you construct your home now, you are creating runoff. So if each household takes the responsibility to capture this rainwater, either for using it on site, to maybe for irrigation or for washing their cars, or if they can't do anything with it, at least to allow it to go in the ground, it will resolve lots of issues. But the culture in Mauritius is everyone is taking the water and sending in the drains or on the road. And if you just imagine a simple rainfall event like 50 millimeter, 100 millimeter rainfall event is going to create 10,000 to 20,000 liters of water over one day. If everyone just stand out on the road, we'll get flooding. So I think the solution should be to educate the community, and they'll be very happy to take very simple measures, like I said. To invest in a rainwater tank or to shade your roof is not costly. So I think community empowerment is critical in this, and this would be the way forward, in my opinion. So if we look at how we progress through the Industrial Revolution and the reason why we are facing so many issues, we typically talk of sustainability as in terms of economics, environment and people. But I would say personally we have given more focus on economics. So we could allow environmental degradation and people facing troubles if it is economically viable. I think we need to turn it upside down. It has to be economically viable, but not at the expense of environment or people. That should be the focus more and more. So the COVID situation has taught us many things. Yes, we are having health issues, but it has also taught us when we went locked down, we started finding that the natural ecosystems are regenerating. That's a lesson for us. Like I've said earlier, all projects we're investing, let's say we need to build real estate, we need to invest in roads or bridges, we need to be able to assess properly what these infrastructures would have in the environment and be able to integrate natural solutions as part of these projects. If we don't do that, then we have to be ready for the calamities to come forward. Like I've talked of runoff or increased temperature, we know these things would create these issues. We should not just turn our face away and say, yes, Let's not just manage these things. If we don't do it, it will hit back at some point. So I think it's now, as we are redeveloping or maybe regenerating from the COVID situation, it's an ideal opportunity now to integrate these analysis and to integrate these nature-based solutions in our projects. We tend to think human beings are separate from the environment. This is something which we need to educate people. We are an element of our ecosystem. So this is really why we're facing problem today. We are an element of an ecosystem which we are ourselves polluting and creating trouble. This is why we're facing problem. At the same time, human beings are also creating troubles for other living entities. If you look at the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom, they never create issues. So we have been very disruptive, and it's our responsibility now to redress it. We will never be happy if we don't regenerate environmental systems, because this is our planet, this is where we live, this is where we get our resources. Imagine if we don't have the planet, or let's say we human beings, we don't have the environment around us, we won't have any identity. So typically we are situated in this planet Earth, and our identity is linked to it, our happiness is linked to it. So if the environment is not there, if it is degraded, we won't derive the same pleasure. So I think it is part and parcel of a solution. Yeah.